Hey guys, so today I'm going to be showing you how to make this present box, which was designed by me. Ugh, it was like my mission this year to make a present box. I thought it would be so cute. So here's the design. It's just a box. And I know it looks a little lopsided, but that's just because of these bands that are going like up and across. It kind of pulls it in. But when we make it, you'll see it's actually a perfect square. So there was a couple different versions of this design just because getting a square out of Loomigurumi is hard, but I really wanted to do it because I'm like, oh, I can make the present round, but then I'm like, no, presents are square. So that was kind of my life's mission for a week was like, I better make a loom square. So I think this red guy was the first one, and he's very rounded. He looks square, but he's actually very round. His top, the way I closed him up, didn't work out. This green one was a little closer. I just realized that the bottom was bigger than the top, so I had to figure out how to make a match. So I fixed that on this guy. And then this one's the final version. It's a present. I'm so happy with it. Um, so hardness-wise, it is not that hard, but this is one of those designs where I'm like, if this is like your first tutorial of mine that you're watching, this might be hard. If you've made stuff with me before, you're gonna be fine, but if this is your first tutorial of mine, you might struggle, but it's not hard at all. It's just a lot of kind of like following along, so if you're like used to the terms I use and stuff, you should be fine. But yeah, so excited. Band-wise, I forgot to do the band count again today, so if you need to know the band count, you can check the description. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So today for my colors for the present box, for the white, I'm going to be using red, and then for the like shiny sparkly blue bands, I'm going to be using these green ones. And yeah, basically we just do the whole box first, so all we're going to need first is just your box color, and then we'll go from there. And yeah, you're going to need some stuffing. These guys take a lot of stuffing because it is a little bit of one of my bigger designs. Here's present to dinosaur ratio. I just happened to have my dinosaur sitting here, so it's a pretty big present box. I thought about making it smaller, but then I was like, I kind of like how big it is, so I'm making it that big. It's fine. And yeah. Of course, you're going to need some stuffing. I always use cotton balls, so I have those. You're going to want to get whatever you want for the face. I usually don't include it as in my band count or anything, because it's just like if you want to put a face, you're going to want to get stuff for that. I'll be using my double-ended hook today. We only need one end. I just really like this hook. And then you're going to need a C-clip or something to mark your rows. So yeah, I think that is it, so I guess we will get started. As always, band count, pattern, everything is in the description, but I will just be telling you today. My pattern is a little wild, because it took me a while to get it right, so I have like all these arrows like, oh no, put this row in here. It's a mess, it's a disaster, but I know exactly what I'm talking about. At least we hope I do. I'm just picking up bands. Okay, so to start, we're just going to do a tripled cap band with we're going to do a tripled cap band with 6 stitches in it. So if you already know how to do that, you can get started, but I'll show everyone just in case someone doesn't know. I'm also going to adjust my light real quick. Hold up. Okay, I adjusted my light. So like I said, we're going to start with a tripled cap band. So this is 1, that's 2, 3, and now we're going to be putting six stitches in this cap band. So we're going to pull a band through everything on our hook, put both ends back on our hook, push the back one over the front one. Then we're going to go back through the cap band, pull a band through just the cap band, put both ends back on our hook, push the back one over the front one, and then push the loop from last time over as well. We're going to do that exact same thing we just did 4 more times, so we have 6 loops in total. So you just pull a band through just the cap band, both ends back on your hook, back one over the front one, then the loop from last time. We're going to do that 3 more times. Oof, I can't grab this band. It's just not happening. How many are we at? Okay. So this is my last stitch, and if you ever lose count of your stitches and you just need to make sure how many you're at, or basically before you do the next part, you're going to want to count to make sure you have 6 stitches. So you'll start by counting the one in your hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then once you've made sure you have 6 stitches, instead of going into the cap band, you're going to go into this first loop here. You're going to pull a band through that first loop, both ends back on your hook, push the back one over the front one, and then you'll push the loop from last time over as well. And we're going to be putting our C-clip on this one. Like that. So for the next row, we're going to be increasing everything. So every single stitch we do is going to be an increase. And I am picking up more bands again. So like I said, we're just going to increase everything, and all an increase is basically you just put 2 stitches per loop, and we'll be doing that until we get to the C-clip. So we're just going to do this all the way around. So the one that has the C-clip on it right now, the loop, it only has 1 stitch in it, so we have to go back in and do another one. And that'll be an increase. So I'll show you again. So you'll go to the next loop, you'll do 1 stitch, then you go back in, do another stitch, and that's an increase. So we're going to keep doing this all the way around, just doing increases all the way. So we're just putting 2 stitches in every loop until we get to the C-clip, basically. You know, the start is very like normal Loomigurumi start, but the next row is where it gets kind of weird, and then it just does not get better from there. So yeah, this is the easy part. So we're going to do, once you get to the C-clip, you're going to do a stitch on the band that has a C-clip on it. And then you'll just take your C-clip off this loop and move it up onto the one that's on your hook. Like that. So now if we count around, we should be at 12 loops. So we'll start by counting the one on our hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Like that. So this next row, we're going to be doing a lot of single stitches as well as adding corners, as I'd like to call it. If you've made my star design, this is very similar to how we do the points to the star, kind of, but a little bit different. So I will show you what we're going to do. And then, yeah. So you can see on the bottom of this guy, wait, is he upside down? Yes, he is. Okay, you can't really see it, so we're just going to have to go for it. But basically, we're going to be doing corners every third. So we're going to do 2 single stitches, and then we're going to do a corner. We're going to be doing this all the way around, except for on the first one. So for the first one, we're going to do the corner on the second, just because of how it works out with like where the C-clip is and all that, and where rows end. It's just better to do it like this. So we have our single stitch, which is the one with the C-clip on it, and then on the next one, we're going to do a corner. And all the corners are made exactly the same. So you'll chain one up, so you'll pull a band through the chain, both ends back on your hook, and then we're going to be putting 3 stitches into this chain. So we're just going to go 1, 2, 3. So it should look like that. So you have the chain and then 3 stitches in the chain. And that'll be it for that part. So then you're going to move on to the next loop. You're going to do 2 single stitches, so that's 1, 2, and then after you do 2 single stitches, you're going to do another corner. So you'll go through the loop, chain one up, then we'll put 3 stitches into this chain. So 1, 2, and then 3, like that. And then we just keep repeating this. So now we'll do 2 single stitches again. So 1, 2, and then after you do 2 single stitches, you'll do another corner. So chain up 1, and we just keep repeating this until we get to the end. And I'm picking up more bands yet again. You know what I've been thinking about though, now that I know how to make a cube? You'll see, I know I kind of, because this guy looks kind of misshapen, but it's just honestly because of those bands. But now that I know how to make a cube, there is so many possibilities. I also feel like with this design, like for the present, because in this one I'm basically showing you how to make a cube, and then like you add the present-y stuff, you could also do an ice cube, because if you just make the square, you can do an ice cube. That would still be my design, by the way. So I'm saying, like, you could just leave the present bow out and it would look like an ice cube. Just thoughts, I don't know. I basically don't want someone to take the bow off my present and be like, it's an ice cube, but you could make it an ice cube just for yourself. But yeah. There's one corner, so we'll do 2 single stitches again. So 1, 2. Then we'll do our corner, so we'll chain up 1, put 3 stitches in it. And this one's going to be our last corner. Like that. So now, after you do your 4th corner, you can tell it's your 4th corner. There should be 1 single stitch for you to do, and then you'll be at the C-clip. And then once you're at the C-clip, we're going to go through the one that has the C-clip on it, and we're just going to tie it off here. So we're just going to pull a band through everything on our hook, both ends back on, back one over the front one, and pull tight. And we're just going to take our C-clip out at this point. Like that. And you can hide that tail in. I usually just leave it because it doesn't really bother me. But, yeah. Like that. So now we should have this little square base, and we basically build up the sides off of this. So I will show you what we do next, but I'm going to double check my pattern on something. Okay, so I was just double checking my pattern to make sure we know what to do. So basically now we're going to be making 4 sides coming off of this, and if you count around at how many loops you have, you should have 20. I find it a little hard to count, so the way I think about it is there's these 2, which have 3 loops on each of the chains, so it's 6, 6, and we have 6 and 6, so that's, it's 12, and then you have these 2 in the middle, so that's 4, so that's, I'm bad at math, but basically if you add everything up, you should have 20 loops. Somehow math works out like that. And basically, now we're going to be using 5 loops per side because that's just how it works out. So we're going to do this side over here with this weird tied off band last, just because it's the hardest one to do. So I'm going to show you, and we do all the sides exactly the same. So I'm going to show you on this side first, but basically you're going to want to do single stitches across these 5 loops here, but you're also only going to be grabbing the inside part of these stitches. So you're not going to grab the outside part, you're just going to grab the inside part. And you're just going to do single stitches across these 5 loops. And usually how I determine what the 5 loops are is I'll just look at the side I want to do it on, and whichever 5 loops look like they're most in the middle, those are the ones I do it on. So we're just going to do 5 single stitches in a row, only grabbing the inside half of these loops. Like that. So now if you count backwards, you should be at 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we're going to turn, so our hook is facing this way. We're going to turn our hook so we face this way. And we're going to do single stitches all the way across, but on this last loop, we're going to do an increase. So we just do single stitches, and then the last loop we do an increase. And I'm picking up bands again. But yeah, so we're just going to turn, we're going to do single stitches until we get to the last loop. Wait, how the heck are we? Oh yeah, okay. And then once you get to that last loop, you're just going to do an increase on it. So now if you start by counting the one on your hook, you should be at 6 loops. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now all we're going to do is we're going to do 3 rows of single stitches, turning on the ends back and forth. So all we do is we're facing this way, so we're going to turn so we face this way. And we'll do a row of single stitches. And we do 3 rows of these. So basically once you get to the end, you just turn and it'll be a row. And then you do another row. So I'm doing 1 row of single stitches across right now. And then once I get to the end, so that's 1 row. And once I get to the end, I'll just turn, and then we'll face the other way, and we're going to do another row of single stitches just all the way across. And like I said, we do this for 3 rows, so I just turn, so I'm on row 2. And we got to do 3 rows in total. I'm trying to make sure you guys can see what I do, but it's honestly really hard for me to hold this in a way you guys can see it. It's just a little bit weird to loom. Okay. Like that. And once we get to the end, once again, we'll turn. And this will be our last row going this way with single stitches. And yeah. We'll just do single stitches. All the way across. And once you get to the end, that's it. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to turn. We're going to go into this first loop here. And we're going to pull band through everything on our hook. Push the back one over the front one and pull kind of sort of tight, but we're going to undo this later, so don't pull it super tight. Just tight enough so it holds it. Like that. And that is one side of our present. So we need to do this to all the sides. And we do it the exact same way. So my first step would be to come to this side. I'll see the next 5 loops. I'll do single stitches, only grabbing the inner half of the loop. So we'll start by doing that. I'm going to walk you through this one, but I'm going to do it a little quicker. So if you want a really in-depth explanation, you can rewind, but I'm going to show you how to do this one, but quicker. So yeah. Okay. I forgot I paused to pick up bands. I was like, what was I doing? But yeah, we're just doing single stitches. So 5 single stitches, only grabbing the inside half of the loop. This is 5. And if I count backwards, I just make sure I have 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we're going to turn. We'll do single stitches, but on the last one we increase. You know, for me, whatever reason, whenever we do the turning, it's just harder to loom one way. I just think it's because of how I loom. It's just automatically harder to go one way. Like that. So now if you count, you should be at 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we'll do 3 rows back and forth. Not back and forth, you just go one direction, that's 1 row. Go the other way, it's another row. But we do 3 rows. So this will be row 1. And then we'll turn and do row 2. I paused to pick up bands again. But, like I said, we're going to turn, do single stitches the other way. It's just so harder for me to loom in one direction. I don't know why. Like, the other direction feels natural, but when you go the opposite way, it feels weird. This will be row 2. If I can ever do it. It's just not cooperating. Sorry if I'm off camera. I'm just having a really hard time looming in this direction. stop being difficult. Okay. And then I'll just turn and do the last row. And then once you finish doing your third row of just single stitches, you'll just turn and go into this loop, pull a band through everything on your hook, and pull the band tight enough to hold it, but not super tight that it's going to be a pain to take out later. So I'm going to go do this side, and then I'll come back and show you how to do the start of this side, just because it's a little difficult because of where we tied it. But I'm going to go off camera and do this side so this tutorial isn't super, super long. Okay, so I did the third side, and I'm just going to show you how to start this fourth side, because it's the same as all the other sides. It's just a little bit hard to figure out sometimes because of where we tie it, but I'm just going to show you how you get the start bit, and then I'm going to go off and do the rest. So the first thing is we are going to want to tuck in this tail, so we're going to pull it tight. We're going to tuck in the tail. And I just tuck it into some of the stitches on the inside. It doesn't have to be perfectly tucked in because you're not going to see it anyways. Just tuck it in good enough so it's like out of the way for now. Like that. And so, it's kind of hard for you guys to see. But where our 5 stitches are is here, 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 and here. And there's just like this odd little tie in the middle, but we're just going to have to ignore that. So you'll just stitch across these 5 stitches. It's just easiest to do this side last because there's only 5 stitches left, so it's like, where else are you going to go in? That's just the best way I've found to do it. Okay. So that's where you would stitch to start this side. I'm going to go off and do the rest of this because it's made exactly like the other sides. I just wanted to make sure you know where to go in because that piece can be a little bit confusing. But yeah, I'm going to go finish the fourth side and then I'm going to come back and tell you what to do next. Okay, finish the fourth side. So now it should kind of look like a literal open box. This is kind of how we want it. It should be looking like this. There's a bunch of tails at the top. So now what we're going to do next is we're going to basically tie up all the sides together. So we're just going to tie them together and tie them up. And then we'll do the next step. But you're basically just going to put the sides up. Making sure my camera's focused. You're just going to put the sides up, and then you're just going to grab part of this side, and usually you can kind of see that there's some things that line up. I usually also only grab half of this bit, and half. And then you'll just tie them together. Like that. And I usually only tie it about 2 times per side. It just doesn't need to be tied more than that. We'll just slip knot. Like that. So we're just going to keep doing this all the way around. So you just stick the sides up next to each other, and then wherever it lines up and makes most sense to tie is usually where I'll tie. So just wherever it makes the most sense, we tie them together. And we just keep doing this all the way around. And I usually only have to tie it twice per side. Like that. You can kind of see the squares now really coming along. Believe it or not, we're almost done already. Just finishing tying up these sides. Because after this, we just close up the top and then we just do like the present things and he's done. I have one more side to tie up. This very last one. And I leave all the tails hanging out until the very end, so I can just tuck them in easier. They don't really get in the way, so I just leave them hanging. There we go. So now that all the sides are tied up, it should be looking very square-like. It also kind of looks like a disaster. But now what we're going to do is we are going to re-loop the top so it's one like consecutive loop around. And I'll show you how to do that. I don't know why I'm picking up bands. We don't even need bands for this. We just gotta re-loop the top. So basically what you're gonna do is you're just gonna pick a spot. It doesn't matter which side. You're just gonna pick a spot. You're gonna undo this band we had tying these loops down. And you're gonna take it out. You're gonna stick your hook. Ooh, what's happening on this one? Interesting. Hold up. Okay, I don't know what happened. Just like a band popped off. So you're gonna want to remove these carefully so nothing undoes. Very carefully. So I put my hook through this one, and then the one that's next, I'm just gonna undo it. And you have to be very careful not to let this whole thing go. But you're just gonna undo all of those loops. Then you'll pick up one of these loops and you'll just re-loop it. So you just put it back on your hook, push the back one over the front one. And we're just re-looping it, if that makes sense, so it's one big shape. So you just undo this. Carefully unloop. Then you just re-loop. And just make sure you don't unloop too far. It's usually pretty easy to tell, but it's kind of hard. I'm just looming off camera. Oopsie. And we just keep doing this until we get back to the start. So you just undo it, re-loop them. Just make sure not to go too far, but it's honestly pretty easy to tell where to stop. And then once you get to this first loop that we re-looped, you're going to go through it. You're going to make a stitch. And then you're going to put your C-clip on this one. Okay, so now you should have a very interesting looking top, but it should all be one loop. And if you count around, you should be at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So I have about 21 loops. You might have more or less than that. Just around there should be about right. And now what we're going to do is we are going to do a row around this, but we're also going to be decreasing on the corners. So I'm going to pick up some bands really quickly. You know, this top part is definitely like the hardest part to do. It took me a while to figure out how to like close it up properly, just because it's just so weird to keep it square, because automatically, like I tried just closing it up like usual, and it just automatically goes circle on top then. So I did do something wrong on this first stitch, because we're also going to be doing another row where we only grab the inside loop. So we're going to just redo this stitch, the one with the C-clip on it, just so it's only on the inside half of that loop. So you know how usually we go through, I'm trying to make sure you can see. Are we focused? There we go. Usually we go through both loops. You're only going to grab the inside part of the loop and then make a stitch on that. And then that's where our C-clip goes. So like I said, we're going to do single stitches, only do on the inside loops until we get to whatever our corner is. So you can kind of tell if you like, even if you just like go like this, where your corners are. And I can tell that I'm going to decrease right here. So you're just going to have to pick whatever two bands are in that corner, and that's where you're going to decrease. So you'll just do single stitches until you get to that spot, only on the inside half of the loops. And then once you get to the corner, we're going to do a decrease, but we're also going to be decreasing a little bit differently. So usually on a decrease, you grab the inside part of one loop and then the back part of the next loop. But because we're also doing a row where we're only grabbing the inside loops, you're just going to grab both the inside loops of these loops and then make a stitch. So I'll show you that again. So once again, I'm going to establish where my corner is. Sometimes it's harder to tell than others. Okay, so my corner's right there. So I'm going to do some single stitches, still only on the inside half of the loops. And then once again, once you get to this corner, you're going to grab the inside part of one loop and the inside part of the next loop. And then make a stitch. We just keep doing this all the way around. For whatever reason, my corners aren't very evenly spaced. It's a little weird. We'll just keep doing this all the way around. And it's hard for me to tell you where your corners should be because you really just have to play it by where you see it. I tried to figure out a specific spot, but it just kept coming out different, so yeah. Okay. Like that. Then once you get to the one that has a C-clip on it, you'll go through both the loops now. Make a stitch that has just make a single stitch, and then move your C-clip up like that. So I'm not gonna count around because honestly, we probably don't have the same number of stitches, just because of when we re-loop and stuff. Sometimes things just happen differently. So I'm not gonna count around, but it should be looking something like this. And now what we're gonna do is we are gonna decrease every other. So we're going to do a single stitch, decrease, single stitch, and then a decrease until we get to the C-clip. So now is where we go to just like usual decreasing. That was probably the last of the weird rows. It's such a pain. And I know it's a little confusing, but hopefully your square is looking okay. Mine looks pretty good. Yeah. We're also getting some weird glare, and I don't really know how to fix it. But I don't know if it's just these red bands. Sometimes my camera reacts different with different colors. But I think you guys have been able to see this whole time. Like I said, we're going to decrease every other, so this one will count as our single stitch, and the next one's going to be a decrease. And for the decreases again, we're going through both the loops again, so we can just grab inside part of one loop, back part of the next loop, make a stitch, and that'll be our decrease. So we'll do a single stitch. So we're just alternating between doing a single stitch and then a decrease all the way around. And we're going through both the loops again. We don't do any more of the weird rows where we only grab one part of the loops for the rest of this. But we're just doing a single stitch and then a decrease all the way around. We do single stitch. And we do a decrease. Single stitch. And my decrease kind of lands on the one with the C-clip on it, so I'm just going to do it because why not? And then we'll just move our C-clip up onto this one. So like I said, it's hard for me to count around because we definitely don't have the same number of loops, so I'm just going to leave it like that. But now is a good time to stuff it. So you're going to want to get whatever you have for your stuffing. I have cotton balls, and you're going to want to stuff him because after this we're just basically closing him up. And you can take your hook out for this, and the C-clip should hold it. We're just going to stuff him. You know, this design takes a lot of stuffing. I honestly don't think it takes that many bands just because it's not that big. There's just like a lot of space inside, which is weird. I'm honestly interested to see how the band count turns out because I don't think it's that many bands. But, yeah. He does take a lot of stuffing. I also always make sure to stuff the stuffing all the way to the corners. Always takes a second to stuff this guy. There's just so much space in him. I think I put like 3 cotton balls in this man. Okay, I'm gonna finish stuffing. Okay, I finished stuffing him off camera because it was easier. Also, right now, I was kind of like just pushing like the squareness just to see how the stuffing was sitting in. But we're good now. So once you finish stuffing, you're just gonna put your hook back in. And for this last row, all we're gonna be doing is we're just gonna decrease absolutely everything until it's closed. So you can take the C-clip out at this point. But you're just gonna decrease until you can't decrease anymore. And the hole's still pretty big, so we do have to go around a couple times, but just every single stitch we do is going to be a decrease until we can't. Oh, my hair's getting in the way. Okay. And we're just decreasing. Almost got it. And once you have the last decrease up on your hook, you're just going to pull a band through everything on your hook, push the back one over the front one, and pull tight. And then you'll just hide your tail into your present. And he's pretty big, so it's pretty easy to hide tails in on this guy. Like that. There we go. So now the next thing we're going to want to do is just hide all these tails in that are sticking out on the edges. And you can pull them a little tighter too if they got loose. Mine keep coming loose, but I think it's just because I'm using jelly bands. So yeah, I'm going to go tuck all these in off camera because it's just going to take forever. So I'm just going to tuck in all of these that are sticking out. Okay, so I tucked all my tails in and it's looking pretty square. It's still not as square as I would like. So the one last thing I do just to make it even more square. I know you're probably thinking it looks pretty square, but this just really helps get the corners on the top because on the bottom the corners are fine, but on the top it starts to round out a little bit. And the trick I do is I just like to tie a band on the corner. So I'll just go through some stitches in the corner and then tie a band there. And it kind of just helps the corners be a little bit more pointy. I don't know why, I found this has helped. And I don't really go in the same spot, I just establish where my corners are and then tie around there. And it just helps with that square shape. I know there's a lot of tail tucking in this design, so you don't have to do this if you don't want to. I've just found it helps. Oh my gosh. So I'm gonna hide all these tails in and then I'll show you how it looks. Okay, so now you see after I tied the corners, all I did was tuck in the tails off camera, I didn't touch anything else. But after you tie the corners, it really helps the top look a lot more square. So yeah. So that's it basically for the square part of this. If you have any holes in your sides, you can just tie them shut. There's really no other way to avoid that. Like I said, now you see how I said you could totally make an ice cube with this if you just like didn't put the present parts, but I'm going to show you how to do the present parts now. So like the face, the bow, all that. And yeah, so now we're going to turn them into a present. And that's definitely the hardest part is over now. So what we're going to do is we're going to get whatever bands we want for these lines. I don't know why my lighting looks weird today. It's bugging me. I keep fixing it. But it just looks weird. My camera keeps nearly falling too. Oop. I should really pause to fix my camera, but nope, I'm just fixing it while videoing. But what we're going to do is we're just going to get whatever color we want for these lines. And we're going to get 2. We're going to put them on our hook. Let me make sure we're focused. There we go. And then we're going to get another 2 bands. We're going to pull them through these 2 bands that we set on our hook. Put both of them, both ends back on our hook. Push the back one over the front 2 bands. We're just going to pull tight if my things were cooperating. Sure not. We'll just pull tight. like that. So you're kind of making a string of slip knotted bands together. So we're going to do that again. We have to do this 2 more times, so that way there's like 4 to get connected together. So we'll just pull it through. I don't know why my camera looks blurry. Stop. There we go. Push the back one over the front ones. Then pull tight. Do that one more time. Oh my god, it's so hard to push the back one over the front one on camera. I don't know why. I also sometimes just do this with my fingers because it's pretty easy. You can just kind of do it with your fingers. But basically, you're just going to want to do it so that way you have it tied together the 4 times, so you can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to want to do 2 of these. So I'm going to pause and make another one real quick. Okay, so I got 2 of these. And now what we're going to do is we're basically just going to wrap them around. So I just pick whatever you want the top and bottom of your present to be. It doesn't really matter. And then you go through part on the top, or whatever you decide is the top. You're going to wrap it around. And if you have these big knots and they look annoying, just pull it tighter. This is one of those things where you can really pull. I have found 4 times goes perfectly around our present. You actually might not want to go through part of the present yet. First, you can just kind of wrap them around. So just wrap it around your present. And then see where they both meet in the middle. So it should kind of look like this. So you have the present wrap around. You go through part of your present, and then the other side. Then you'll take another band and pull it through everything on your hook. Push the back one over the front one and pull tight. And these do kind of misshapen, like make it a little misshapen because it's a little bit tight. But it's not too bad, so I don't really mind. So we're going to do that again for the other one. So you just kind of wrap it around. And you'll put part of it on. We'll go through part of this. I'll just tie it. That. Just tie it in. Like that. And you kind of have to adjust these middle ones a little bit because sometimes they'll be a little crooked or whatever, so you kind of have to just move them to the middle because sometimes they are a little crooked when you first put them on. Then they should be okay. And then you'll just tuck in your tails. Like that. And it's okay if it looks a little ugly on the top, honestly, because we put a bow and it kind of hides everything. Like that. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do both of the bows I did, because I did one like this where it's a little more ruffly. You can see on this guy too, a little ruffly. And then I just did a classic bow, so I'm going to show you how to do both of them. For the ruffly one, all I did was I got some bands. And then I just put a bunch of, like, doubled bands on my hook. So I'll just put a bunch. I don't know how many I put, honestly. I just put probably about, like, 6. 5 or 6. I'll do 5. Then I just pulled a band through. And then I use this band to tie it into the top of my present. But I'm going to do the other bow for this guy, so yeah. But that's how you would do that bow. So for the other bow, you're going to want to stretch, like, 6... I think I did 6. I put a lot of, usually I do about 5 or 6 bands, but I think I did about like 7 or 8 for this guy, so the bow looked a little bigger. And you're just going to want to get those bands, and you can stretch them across 2 pins. So you can use your Rainbowloom for this, but I'm just going to use my fingers because I just always do this on my fingers. But basically, you're just going to want to stretch it across something, so you can wrap 2 bands around it. So you wrap it around, as you can see. And then you just push the back one over the front one. Pull tight, and then you can take it off the pegs or your fingers, whatever you're using. I always do it on my fingers, but my fingers like suffocate for that moment. Not good. You just pull it tight. That. Then you'll just put it into the top of your present. You know, jelly bands are not good sometimes. They're slippery. My bow just almost undid. Stop. Then you can just tie this into the top of your present. I usually don't tie it. I'll just use the tail to like tuck it in. And I haven't had any problems with my bows coming out, so I don't really feel like I need to tie it, so I just usually just tuck the tail in. That is not exactly in the dead center, but it's close enough. Ta-da. And then the very last thing we need to do is the face. So I'll show you how to do the face really quick. You're going to want to get whatever you're going to use for eyes. I'm using these beads today. And you're going to want a piece of string if you're using beads. If you're using safety eyes, you can just put those in. But I'm using beads. So you're going to get a string. You're going to put your bead on the string. You'll get a band. Put the band on the string. And then you'll fold this end of the string over and go back through the bead. And then you'll just slide the bead onto that band. And if you're wondering what piece of string I'm using or like what kind of string, it's just a piece of dental floss. I've literally discovered that dental floss is literally just the best thing to string beads on bands with. I think Filling Spiffy gave this tip. And I don't know if she meant like embroidery floss, but I took it as dental floss. So, yeah. Once you have your eyes, you'll just tie them into the front of your present. Like that. And I usually don't tuck the tails in until I like where both of my eyes are. Just in case I want to move one. Like that. Takes a second to tuck these in. Why do your eyes look crooked? Oh, there we go. There we go. And then the very last thing is the cheeks. So just get 2 bands for whatever color you want your cheeks to be. It'll come right under the eye. Right, as close as right under your eye you can get. And you'll just make a stitch and put it tight, but not super tight. That cheek is still not in the right place. Let's try this side. This side's cooperating more. Yeah, see? Like that. And then you just hide the tail. And you don't want to pull it super tight because then the cheek won't look that great. But like that. This side's having issues. This side's okay. And the very last thing would be the mouth. And I've explained how I do the mouth. I'm going to make a video very soon showing exactly how I do it. But basically, I just put a dot of hot glue right there. And then I'll cut a black band and I'll just set the band on the hot glue. And it's also best to do that if you want to do that before your glue gun heats up all the way, because I've noticed that if you let your glue gun heat up a lot, you will burn your fingers. So if you put the mouth on, just be careful of that. I'll fix the other half of his face a bit later, but I think that is it for this tutorial because, yeah, we're done with our presents. So I hope I didn't do too fast. I always feel like I'm going fast, but then I don't know if it's just because there's not much to explain. So I hope I did an okay job explaining. I know this might have been a little hard because they are squares. If you make a present, definitely show it to me. I'm also releasing this video around Christmas time, so I hope you guys have a good Christmas. And yeah, I'm almost done with the 12 days of tutorials as well, so that's fun. But yeah, I think that is it for this tutorial. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos from me. I have a few more coming, and well, I have more planned for the future, but like for the immediate future, there's only a few more videos coming, but, yeah. So, I think that is it for this one. I always feel like I'm forgetting something, even though I'm not. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I will see you in the next tutorial, hopefully. Bye.